Before we start, make sure to subscribe so you never miss another chilling story. Now, let's begin. I stopped romanticizing night shifts a long time ago. From the outside, it looks almost cozy. A quiet lobby, the low metallic hum of fluorescent lights, the steady perfume of coffee and fryer oil. But when you're the one wearing the headset, you learn quick night is when people don't come for food, they come for you. I was the de facto lead on nights at McDonald's off the highway, far enough from town that the streetlights felt like they were rationed. The gas station across the road locked up at 10. The little Quick Mart next door pulled its grate at midnight. Our dining room closed at 8 p.m. sharp. After that, it was just the drive-through window, the fryer's hiss, and the long, empty hours no one ever pays you for. There were 3 of us most nights. Me on the window, Marcus on grill and fryer, and Shay 16, too eager to please and still figuring out how to move in that cramped kitchen without getting burned. Connie was the manager who believed in me, by which I mean she taped me onto the schedule in permanent marker after 2 people simply never showed up again. "You'll be fine," she said, tapping the roster, already halfway back to her office. I said, "Okay," because that's what you do when you need the hours and don't have a safety net. The Malibu announced itself before I ever learned his name. Beat-up white Chevy, front end scabbed with primer, a squeal in the turn that made my teeth clench. He rode up to the menu board right before 12:30 a.m., like he had it in his calendar. The headset crackled and a voice came through, smooth, careful, medium fries, and a minute of your time. I ignored the second part, repeated the total, and told him to pull forward. Up close, his eyes moved too much, scanning every inch of my face like he was trying to memorize it. He leaned both elbows on the window ledge, owning the space like he'd paid for it. "You're too pretty for a place like this," he said, voice dipped in concern like we knew each other. I passed the bag, thanked him, shut the window. He came back the next night. And the next. Some nights he ordered 10 burgers, no buns. Other nights, just a Sprite. It wasn't about the food. He learned our rhythm when I stepped away to restock sauces, how long it took Marcus to drop nuggets when Shay dragged the trash out back. Twice he forgot his wallet, so I'd open the window again. I kept my tone polite, but clipped, the way you learn to. A smile that meant nothing, and ended as soon as the glass slid shut. Marcus would catch my eye sometimes and mouth, "You good?" I'd nod. But there was a cold coin of dread in my stomach I couldn't shake loose. The night broke open on something small, a trash run. I grabbed a swollen black bag, hip-checked the back door, and hustled to the dumpster. The air felt too still, sound traveling farther than it should. By the time I came back to the kitchen, I heard the telling squeak of those tires cutting into our lot. "Front's locked?" I asked without turning, already reaching for the door chime panel. "I thought Shay locked it," Marcus said. Shay blinked at me, wide-eyed. "Connie told me not to touch the keys." The bell dinged. He shouldn't have been able to get in. He shouldn't have crossed that line between customer and man in a room with me. But there he was, standing just past the soda fountain with a small paper bag in one hand, the other jammed deep in the kangaroo pocket of his hoodie. "You were rude," he said. Not loud, not angry. Flat, like a teacher noting a late assignment. "I'm here for an apology." "The lobby is closed," I told him. "You need to leave right now." "No," he said, exactly as calm. "I need you to apologize." Marcus stepped up beside me, wiry and tense, wiping his hands on a towel he'd forgotten he was holding. Behind us, I heard Shay take a small breath, and then nothing at all. "You can go," I said, evenly, "or I call the police." He took one step closer. "I've got a gun in my pocket," he said, almost bored. "You scream, you call, this gets ugly." The words didn't blast. They slid over the tile like oil, thin and suffocating. I felt my hands start to shake, so I made them move. "Okay," I said. "Let's not do something we can't undo. Hands where I can see them. We'll talk." We backed toward the kitchen door, and he came along like a shadow, not touching anything, not looking away. Up close, he smelled like menthol and cold air. The fluorescent lights hummed louder, every second stretched thin. I said all the things you're supposed to say. "We can step outside. You can calm down. No one's trying to disrespect you." But he wanted something I couldn't give him. Not a sorry, but a surrender. He wanted my fear arranged neatly in his hands. He smiled then, a knife turning just enough to catch the light. "I come here every night to see you," he murmured. "I'm good to you." I don't know where the words came from. Panic, or anger, or whatever instinct rises when the bottom drops out. "You're pathetic," I said. My voice shook, but the words didn't. "A creep. You think I owe you because you show up? No one owes you anything." It was a mistake. I knew it even as it left me. His mouth twitched, and the hand in his pocket clenched, fabric drawing tight around the shape of his knuckles. I slammed the kitchen door and hit the lock button in one motion. The handle rattled immediately. "Marcus, with me," I snapped. "Shay, down, now." We sprinted the narrow hall to the fire door that connected to the Quick Mart next door. It was our emergency spillway, a steel door most people forgot existed, the kind managers mention once during onboarding and never bring up again. Deshaun was working nights over there, ex-bouncer shoulders, eyes that read a scene in a heartbeat. I hit the bar and we burst into his store, not even pretending to be calm. One look at me, and he reached under the counter, yanked the front gate down, and locked it. Behind us, the connecting door shuddered. The sound was so much worse with the lights bright and the candy aisles neat and ordinary. "Guy with a hoodie, white Malibu," I said, breath scraping. "Says he has a gun. Back," Deshaun said, already moving. He took up a position behind the counter, like he'd always lived there. "You called 911? My hands wouldn't work. He grabbed the phone, dialed, and spoke with a clipped calm of someone who'd been on both sides of trouble. And then I did the wrong thing again. I ran. Call it adrenaline, call it animal brain. But all I could see was my car in the far corner under the broken light, and all I could hear was the ringing inside my head saying, "Go now." Before he circles around, before the doors mean nothing, I slipped out the back, bolted across the lot, and dove into my seat, the key shaking so hard I missed the ignition twice. When the engine finally caught, I looked up and saw my own face in the rearview mirror, white, pinched, furious. I didn't look back. Later, I had to hear the ending in pieces. Police came. He was gone. They took a statement from Deshaun. They walked our lot with flashlights, found nothing but a scabbed crescent of tire rubber near the turn, and a cigarette butt mashed into the crackled asphalt. Connie texted me the next morning. "You're lucky I don't write you up. You left your side unlocked." I stared at the message until it blurred, then turned my phone face down. I slept in my clothes like I might have to run again. You'd think that would be the end of him. It wasn't. Stalkers are gravity. They don't leave when you do. He reappeared 2 nights later, but outside the frame of my job. I was in the break room at 2:15 a.m. counting lids. Marcus was finishing a batch of nuggets. Shay was auditing sauces with that careful intensity she had when she wanted to impress me. The drive-thru speaker popped. Marcus reached for his headset, and the words came through like they were meant for the inside of my skull. "Order when you're ready, sweetheart." Marcus frowned. We didn't say the line yet. "Did you forget me?" the voice asked. "You shouldn't." Marcus looked at me, eyes asking a question we both knew the answer to. I nodded, slow. He hit mute, mouth tight. We didn't answer. The speaker hissed for a full minute white noise that felt like someone breathing in your ear and then went dead. We closed early that night. I pull the till, sign the sheet, and walk the store with the keys in my fist. I check the bathroom stalls twice. I check the freezer door 3 times. I checked the front door lock, then checked it again. At 7 a.m. The Malibu idled across the street under the dead gas station sign. No lights, just the low, steady purr of an engine in the dark. I tried to pretend I hadn't seen it. I tried to pretend the world still worked the way it used to. The police found him months later in another county, squatting in a foreclosed house, stalking charges in 2 jurisdictions, a sealed juvenile record nobody would talk about. The detective who called me said it like a weather report, dry, factual, nothing for me to do. I thought I'd feel relief. Instead, I felt empty, like I'd been holding my breath so long I'd forgotten how to let it go. I quit nights after that. I didn't even pick up my last paycheck in person. Connie mailed it with a sticky note about team commitment. I threw it away with the envelope. I changed my route home. I parked under cameras. I bought pepper spray and took a self-defense class in a strip mall gym that still smelled faintly of a failed candle store. People asked what happened, and I watched their faces as I told them. Some believed me. Some said, meth head, or TikTok prank, or you should have been nicer, like they were offering solutions instead of verdicts. My mother told me to stop walking to the mailbox after dark. My best friend sent me a pink Kubotan keychain that looked like a cat. None of that is the story I'm telling, though. The story is the long, quiet hours after, where ordinary things turned into alarms. A man leaning too far into a window. The bell on a door dinging when it shouldn't. A paper bag someone holds like a promise they plan to break. I think about Shay, 16, and trying to be brave the way girls are taught to be brave. Polite first, safe second. I think about Marcus, who stood beside me even when he was scared, who texted me every night for a week after I quit. You good? You sleeping? You okay? Mostly I think about the window, about how easy it was for a stranger to lean his weight on it and make the world smaller. About how a locked door is still just a door when someone believes they can walk through it. If you're waiting for a neat resolution, there isn't one. There's just the way I flinch when the drive-through speaker crackles before anyone speaks, the way I check my rear view at red lights, the way the word sweetheart lands in my ear like a threat now, even when it isn't. Here's the only thing I know for sure. I didn't owe him kindness. I didn't owe him conversation, or a smile, or proof I'm a good person. I owed myself a life where I could walk out of a building at 3 a.m. and not be a story someone else was writing. The night shift teaches you a lot about people. It teaches you who can contain their rage and who feeds it, who believes a counter is a boundary and who believes it's a suggestion. It teaches you that some men measure themselves by what they can make you do. It also teaches you who you are when no one is watching. I learned that my voice shakes but doesn't break, that I can move while I'm terrified, that I can say no and mean it even with a hand in a pocket claiming to be a gun. If you ever end up where I was, dead lobby, humming lights, a man stepping over a line, the only advice I have is simple and ugly. Don't explain yourself to someone who wants you afraid. Get to the brightly lit place. Find the person who will lock the gate without you asking. Run if you have to. Let someone else call the cops while you breathe. I don't work nights anymore. Not at McDonald's. Not anywhere. But every so often, a white sedan will roll past me on a quiet street, and I'll feel that old gravity tug at my ribs. I don't look. I keep my eyes on the road, hands at 10 and 2, breath steady. And I say out loud where no one can hear me, I don't owe you anything. I used to think the scariest part of the night shift was the boredom. The hours stretch, the hum of the fryers turns hypnotic, and you start to feel like you're the only person awake in the world. But I learned that's not the worst part. The worst part is when you realize you're not alone. Our McDonald's sat on the far edge of town, right where the road narrowed and the woods pressed close, like they were leaning in to listen. The streetlights stopped just before our lot, leaving the parking area wrapped in that uneasy half-dark where shadows stretch long and every movement feels deliberate. It was late October, cold and damp, with fog sliding low along the ground like it was looking for a way in. I was on lobby cleanup, wiping tables and trying to stay warm. Manny was on grill, a tall, quiet guy with thick glasses and a habit of getting lost in his music. We weren't friends exactly, but we understood each other. Keep to your lane, survive the night. After midnight, the place was usually a ghost town. Maybe a couple of truckers for coffee, or a group of high school kids buzzing from whatever they'd been smoking out by the bowling alley. But around 12:45 that night, I caught something out of the corner of my eye, just a flicker of movement beyond the drive-thru, out by the tree line. I paused mid-wipe, pulled one AirPod out, and glanced over. Just the dark tangle of trunks and branches swaying lazily in the wind. But the air felt heavier, like the moment before someone says your name. I shook it off, went back to work. A few minutes later, I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. Soft, steady, not random, not a branch, not a squirrel. My heart picked up. I turned toward the big side window, the one that faced the woods. All I saw was my own reflection in the glass, pale and sharp under the fluorescent light. Behind it, shadows shifted in the spill of orange from the parking lot lamps. I stepped closer, squinting, my stomach tight, and then I saw it. A figure, low to the ground, hunched near the base of a pine, too still to be an animal. No face I could make out, no eyes I could see, but somehow I knew it was looking right at me. I stumbled back, dropped my rag to the floor with a wet slap, and bolted into the kitchen. "Manny!" My voice cracked. "There's someone out there in the woods." He looked up from the fryer, blinking like I'd pulled him out of another world. "Someone? Like a person?" "Yes. Not a deer, not a raccoon. Human, just watching." He sighed, wiped his hands on his apron, and followed me out. I pointed toward the trees. Nothing. Just the same dense wall of trunks and leaves, unmoving now. "You sure you're not just overtired?" he asked. "Last week, you thought a trash bag was a deer." "I know what I saw," I snapped. My voice shook, which only made me sound more unsure. Manny gave me that polite, careful look people use when they don't believe you but don't want to argue. "Take a break," he said. "I'll finish the tables." So I sat in the farthest booth from the windows, facing the counter, pretending to scroll my phone. But every few seconds, my eyes flicked toward the glass. That crawling sensation under my skin didn't fade. Whatever was out there, it wasn't gone. By 3 a.m., we had the closing list nearly done. Dishes scrubbed, floors gleaming, registers balanced. Everything normal, everything fine. But my heart hadn't slowed once. Manny grabbed his hoodie from the break room, pulling it on against the cold. "Want me to walk you out?" he asked. I hesitated just a moment too long. "Yeah," I said. The lot was empty except for our 2 cars. Mine was parked closer to the woods, of course. The sodium lights overhead buzzed, flickered, casting long, twitching shadows across the asphalt. We were halfway to my car when Manny stopped dead. "You see that?" he whispered. I followed his gaze. At the very edge of the woods, barely lit, the figure stood. Taller now, upright, still, just watching. "Oh my God," I breathed. It raised one hand and waved. Slow, deliberate. Manny took a step forward. "Hey, you okay, man?" "Manny, don't," I hissed, grabbing his sleeve. The figure didn't move, then stepped backward into the trees and vanished. We both froze. And then something else moved. Above us, there was a scrape of weight shifting on metal. The faint groan of the building's roof. My scalp prickled. I didn't wait to see more. I ran to my car, fumbling for my keys. Manny was still staring upward when a heavy thump shook the roof of my car. The metal dented inward with a low groan. "Manny!" I screamed. He snapped out of it, running for his own door. Something shifted above me. The car rocked again, heavier this time. Whatever it was crawling forward, claws or nails scraping the paint. "Go!" Manny shouted. I jammed the key into the ignition, turned it, slammed the gas. Tires screeched. The car fishtailed before gripping the pavement. I didn't look back. I blew through 2 red lights before I finally pulled into the all-night gas station 10 miles away. Manny rolled in seconds later. We sat there in silence, windows up, doors locked. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. When I finally looked at him, his face was pale behind the glass. He shook his head once. "I saw it," he said. "It looked right at you. We didn't go back for our stuff. Didn't clock out. Didn't explain to anyone why the lobby lights stayed on until dawn." Later, when I thought about it, I realized I'd never seen its face, but I'd felt its eyes, and somehow that was worse. I've worked a lot of night shifts in my life. Quiet, empty hours in gas stations, diners, and one very regrettable summer in a motel off the interstate. But only one job has stayed with me. Only one has shown up in my dreams years later, the details sharp and unblinking. Pine Hollow isn't even big enough for a city limits sign worth noticing. One road in, one road out. A strip of shops with faded awnings, 2 gas stations, a church with a steeple that leans a little to the left, and a town hall clock that's been frozen at 4:17 for as long as I can remember. After dark, the sidewalks are empty. Not just quiet, empty in a way that makes you think you missed an evacuation notice. Our McDonald's sat at the very edge of town, right where the streetlights stop. On one side was an abandoned self-serve car wash, its sign a rusted frame that clanged softly when the wind came off the highway. On the other side stretched an empty lot that was supposed to become a strip mall years ago. It never did. When it rained, that field turned into a shallow lake, steaming under a single flickering street lamp. From the counter, I could see that lamp and the dark beyond it. It was the kind of view that made you feel both safe, because you could see trouble coming, and exposed, because trouble could see you too. It was early November, the Friday after Halloween week. The kind of slow stretch where the sugar rush has worn off and the kids have settled back into school routines. I was 2 months into the job, working overnights from 11 to 6. The pay was slightly better than the day shift, and I liked telling myself the quiet would be worth it. That night, I clocked in a few minutes early. The air inside smelled faintly of fryer oil and whatever sweet syrup they use in the apple pies. Riley, the evening cashier, handed me the headset and keys. "You sure you're okay here by yourself?" she asked. I laughed, told her I liked the peace. She gave me a quick smile but didn't answer. The first hour was nothing but routine. Sweep the lobby even though no one had been in for an hour. Restock the sauce packets in neat rows, barbecue, sweet and sour, honey mustard. Wipe down the counters until the surface shone under the fluorescent lights. In the kitchen, the fryers hummed their low, steady song. The ice machine in the back made its occasional clunk as it dropped another frozen sheet. By 1 a.m., I'd settled into the kind of sleepy calm where your mind drifts. I leaned against the counter near the register, scrolling through my phone with the headset resting loose around my neck. Somewhere in the distance, a semi rumbled along the highway. Then the headset crackled. I straightened automatically, slipping it on. "Hi, welcome to McDonald's. What can I get for you tonight?" There was silence at first, then a man's voice, steady and unhurried. "1 Whopper, please." It took me a second. Sir, this is McDonald's. We don't." The sound that cut me off wasn't laughter exactly. It was wet, bubbling, like someone trying to choke down a laugh while underwater. Every hair on my arms rose. I glanced at the drive-through camera feed. No car, just a man standing there. He wore a clown costume, but not the kind you see at kids' parties. The ruffled collar sagged, yellowed at the edges, stained in places I didn't want to think about. The once bright red buttons were faded to a dull rust color. His face was painted white, but the paint was cracked, peeling in jagged flakes around his eyes. Thick black rings dragged his lids down in a way that made his stare heavy, almost sleepy. His mouth was bare. No painted grin, no expression at all. I took a slow step back from the mic. "You need to leave, or I'm calling the police." He didn't move, didn't blink. I looked away for a second to reach for the phone. When I turned back to the monitor, the space was empty. The lot outside the side window was bare. The menu board glowed alone in the cold night air. I locked the lobby doors and stayed behind the counter until morning. When my manager Brett came in, I told him. He smirked and said it was probably just some drunk messing with me. I let him believe that. It was easier than explaining how still the man had been, how flat and cold his eyes had looked. The next Friday, I tried again to get switched to days. No luck. "It's dead out there at night," Brett said. "You'll be fine." That night I came in with every light in the building turned up, my phone fully charged, and my friend from the gas station across the street on standby to text me every 30 minutes. I stayed behind the counter, glancing at the cameras every few seconds. At 4 a.m., something hit the lobby window. Hard. The glass shuddered in its frame. I spun around. The clown stood inches from the glass. His forehead was split open now, blood dripping down in thick, glossy lines over the cracked paint, catching in the folds of his collar. He stared in at me for a long, unbearable moment before his mouth opened slow, deliberate, wider than it should have gone. "If you don't make me a Big Mac," he rasped, voice like dry paper dragged over stone, "I'll make you into one." My breath caught hard enough to hurt. I stumbled back, fumbling for my phone, my fingers refusing to work the unlock screen. He didn't move, didn't blink. Then, without warning, his whole body jerked in a violent spasm, like something had grabbed him from behind. In the next instant, he bolted around the side of the building and disappeared into the dark. A minute later, headlights swept through the drive-thru. A real customer. I almost cried when I saw their normal, tired face. Brett laughed the next morning. "You've been listening to too many spooky podcasts," he said. By the last Friday of the month, I'd already decided it would be my final shift. The air felt heavier than usual that night, like the building itself was waiting for something. At 2:41 a.m., the lobby camera feed flickered to static. When it came back, my blood went cold. I was on the screen, standing behind the register, but I was in the office. The version of me on the monitor turned her head slowly toward the drive-thru window and lifted a hand to wave. I ran out to the counter. The space was empty. The air was still. I looked back at the monitor. She was still waving, still smiling. The whisper came right beside my ear, icy and close enough to feel the breath of it. "I don't work alone anymore." The lights in the store flickered. Every fryer beeped in unison. The headset I'd left on the counter clicked on. "Order ready," the voice said. A pause. "Clown meat, extra fries." I didn't think. I bolted for the door, leaving my bag, my shoes, everything. Barefoot, I ran across the lot toward the gas station, the cold pavement biting into my feet, the night pressing in on all sides. I never looked back. I quit the next morning. I haven't worked another night shift since. Sometimes I drive past at McDonald's. The lot is cleaner now, the windows bright, the street lamp fixed. But every so often, if I look toward the drive-thru window, I see two people there, and one of them is still wearing a clown suit.